listeners. It's now 20 minutes going up to 7. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Tyrone Reid.
We're going to turn to that story, that situation in central Kingston now, where the residents of that particular constituency are appealing for a greater security. Some, including a political representative of theirs, is demanding that a zone of special operations be established, given the rate at which murders, shootings are taking place in central Kingston.
Listeners, over the last few weeks, the constituency has been really suffering and plagued by shootings and acts of violence to varying degrees. Some constituency members shared with our news team the constant fear in which they live in central Kingston.
It's like a constant fear for your life. And even when you think, okay, you know what, nothing's going to happen, anything can happen at any moment. Gunshots fire randomly. And there's a police station right down the road, and you won't see police until like 30 to 45 minutes after. So you get exposed to stuff such as, when you hear gunshots, that, okay, stay off of the road, okay, you don't want to get shot. So let's imagine, let's say, being a parent and you send like your child to the shop and then shots being fired. In fear for your child's life, you're wondering what happened, hopefully nothing happened to him. This causes like the shops to close early. You can't go on the road past a certain time.
Sometimes I find it hard to eat at night because of what has been happening in the community. And then to add to that, not just what has been happening into the community. For example, if I don't have the vehicle that I drive, if it is down, I'm also fearful to take transportation. I live with my mom and my siblings, and where we are, violence is like a everyday thing and every week thing and every month thing.
The views there of residents in the troubled central Kingston area. The People's National Party caretaker for the constituency, that's Imani Duncan-Pryce. She is demanding, Cliff and listeners, that the government impose a zone of special operations, ZOZO, in the area. Duncan-Pryce says she's prepared to protest close to Gordon House every Tuesday until this is done. In the meantime, the councillor for the Raytown Division in Kingston Central, Rosalie Hamilton, says she has also tried to help reduce the violence through advocacy, but this has led to threats on her life. Given the ongoing problem in the area, what are some of the solutions? Is it just a zone of special operations that's needed? We are now being joined by the councillor for the Central Kingston Central Division, that's Rosalie Hamilton. The Raytown Division, in Kingston Central, that's Rosalie Hamilton. And we are also to be joined by the People's National Party caretaker for Central Kingston, Imani Duncan-Pryce. Ms. Hamilton, good evening and welcome to Nationwide.
Good evening.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Councillor Hamilton. First of all, how have you been doing? I notice the threats against your life. How has that changed what you do and how you do it?
Well, I could not tell you what I do and how I do it, because then I would not be putting up any security.
Oh, yes, you're right. Mm-hmm.
But I am fine, and I am taking it one day at a time, and I know that the man that I serve, he will take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
There has been a call for a zone of special operations in the Central Kingston area by the PNP caretaker for the constituency, Imani Duncan-Pryce. Do you support that call, Councillor?
No, I don't. Listen. The zone of special operation is not a crime-fighting method. It is a social intervention program. What we are having in Central Kingston is some very gruesome murders. Some young men, they get up and they kill fearlessly. And listen, there is no society that can run that way. And there is no way that those type of killings should be allowed to get away with. So what we need in Central Kingston is policing We need policing to rid the communities of the type of persons in there that are lawless.
And what is motivating these murders, these killings, Councillor Hamilton? What is motivating them?
You have you have three factors inside. You have the politics that is paramount in the killing that starts on election day, and you have persons overseas that are funding killing in the community for their own personal agenda, and you have the gang turf war that is happening.
Politics? I thought we had put down that.
No, man. The younger generation put away that. But the persons who are eager for power, and the only way power can reach them is by crime. Them don't forget that. Them don't leave that as it. And listen, it's why I am calling for policing, because I want some of the murders that take place in here to be investigated. I want them to be investigated. I want every single soul that is behind, in front, beside the killings in the community. Justice must be made.
So wouldn't a zone of special operations help with that kind of investigation? Why are you against it?
I told you already, it's a social intervention program.
But the zone comes with social intervention.
When those come in our community, they come and they probably search, and they bar the areas, and they different organizations come in and they do social programs and stuff. Listen, we want the murders that take place in Central Kingston to be investigated. If the government cannot manage, they must call in FBI.
I'm still not getting, though, Councillor Hamilton, why you are against the zone of special operations, given it has a social component.
I am not against it. I'm not against the zone of special operations. I'm telling you, it's not the time for it. We need policing in the constituency. We need to know who, why, when these murders has been committed since the 3rd of September.
So they started from election day?
From the 3rd of September, election evening, the killing starts.
We are getting some additional reporting as well, Sir Cliff. Listeners, we are being joined also by the caretaker for the constituency, the PNP's Imani, Duncan-Pryce. But some additional reporting coming into us is that the residents of Central Kingston community of Southside are again in mourning following the murder of 3 men and the shooting of another in the last 72 hours. In addition to the somber mood that's over the community, some residents are angry at what they believe to be the killing of innocent people.
In the latest incident, a resident of Fleet Street, Shadane... Just a moment, Councillor, let us just report this. In the latest incident, a resident of Fleet Street, Shadane Richards, was killed on his way home from work last night. Richards is understood to have been a porter at the Kingston Public Hospital. He was reportedly walking home from work last night when he was pounced upon by gunmen who opened fire, killing him.
And a man was also shot and injured in a separate incident in the community last night. He's believed to be in a critical condition in hospital. Approximately 24 hours before Richards was killed, Danville Hamilton was gunned down at the corner of Water Lane and Rosemary Lane.
And that person is my nephew?
Hello?
Did you know that person is my nephew?
Danville Hamilton?
Yes, it's my nephew. It's my brother's son. My brother died December, the 19th of December, and was buried in May, in March, and his son died now. It's my nephew.
Do you know...
Please accept our sympathies, Councillor Hamilton.
Yes. Yes. So, do you...
Let me just say something, Cliff. You see me, and I know you know me very, very well. I am not a hypocrite. I am not a hypocrite, and I don't wear two-face. What you see from me is what you get. And what you hear from me is nothing else but the truth. I don't wear two-face, and I am not going to sit down in Central Kingston with these hypocrites and these hunger for power people come out gloating and talking all kind of things when they know exactly what is happening. All right.
The report, just to complete it for you, listeners, says that reports are when Mr. Hamilton went to have repairs done on his motorcycle, he was pounced upon by armed men. And on Sunday, a Towan Ellis was killed by gunmen at his home on Fleet Street. So that's the three in the last 72 hours persons who've been killed in the constituency. We are in the area. We're now being joined by the caretaker for the constituency, Imani Duncan-Pryce.
The People's National Party's caretaker. Good evening, Mrs. Price.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And just to add to your report, prior to that young man being killed on Sunday morning, the day before on Saturday afternoon in broad daylight, a mother and her son were killed in their yard off of Ellison Road on Saturday afternoon.
Is the fighting political, Mrs. Price?
Not to my understanding. It is a gang warfare for turf. That's my understanding.
Between which gangs?
When you talk to the community residents about what is happening, they tell you that the main gangs involved, because as the police will tell you, there are many gangs, unfortunately, in Central Kingston, but over the many, many years. But the two main gangs, apparently, in this exchange is a group called Dark Side and a group called Genocide.
Say that again. We heard genocide and what?
Dark Side.
Dark side. Oh, uh-huh. And where are they based in Central Kingston?
My understanding is that they're based in different communities. This is part of the problem that we're having. So and Councillor Rosie, with a longer standing history in the constituency, can share more on it. But my understanding is that at this point in time,
Hold on, Councillor Hamilton.
Hold on, Councillor.
We'll give you a chance. Yes.
Whereas before, in other circumstances, you tend to have like one localized or an area where killings are happening. In this situation, based on networks formed, whether they meet in prison or they meet on lanes, alliances are formed, and so you have these shootings in all disparate places, from Almond Town to Franklin Town to Southside to Tel Aviv to Spoilers. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I have been calling for Azoso is because of the nature of Azoso, and it's not only about locking down the people, it's about opportunities. There are some deep-rooted issues in Central Kingston that need to be finally addressed by real and sustained investment. The policing part of Zoso is just to stop the spiral, because we're in a spiral right now. It has gotten worse, and I would say to you, it didn't start on September 3rd. The numbers, if you look at it, for example, I'll give an example. In January, the numbers were 90% above last year, right? The numbers now are 30% above last year because there was a spate of killing, gang violence, between April and June. Mm-hmm. So it's been a challenge, and Cliff, you know these communities. This is not a recent thing, but this now apparently is, I guess, exacerbated by the fight for turf.
All right, let me ask you. You named two. One second.
Women are dying and children are dying.
Before you go on, Mrs. Duncan-Pryce, you named two gangs: Genocide and Dark Side. Mm-hmm. Where is Genocide based, and where is Dark Side based?
You'd have to come to the community and talk to people there.
You don't know?
Recommend it. No, reason being is because I thought one was based at Clovelly Road and one was based on George's Lane. But my understanding now is that the networks are everywhere. That's why I honestly, in terms of where the action is now, that is what is not as clear. and you need to have intelligence working it to determine the sources of the activities.
So it is.
Councillor?
Yes,
So
go ahead.
you heard the two areas, right? You
Yeah.
heard the two areas.
Councillor
Governor
Hamilton?
Road and George's name.
Cliff,
Yes, Councillor. Go ahead.
both gangs were built and stationed in Tel Aviv. Dark Side and Genocide, they were born in Tel Aviv. No, both
That's not
sides.
my understanding, Rosie.
Both
So that is
No, hold on, Mrs. Price.
Hold on, Mrs. Price. Allow her.
Mrs. Price, we don't want it to descend, okay? So
Yes.
we're just gonna have both of you speak without interruption, okay? Go ahead, Councillor Hamilton.
Both gangs were born in Tel Aviv. And they spread their wings into different communities. Now, it is affecting almost the entire Central Kingston. And listen, please, there is no...
Hold on. For those people like Tyrone who is not familiar with that part of the country, tell us where Tel Aviv is in the constituency.
Tel Aviv is from Maid Lane to East Street. That's where Tel Aviv is.
Yes.
And it is from East Queen Street to Barrett Street. That's Tel Aviv.
And you should also give us a little of the history, because from I was a boy growing up in East Kingston, I've been hearing about Tel Aviv and Spanglers it was. Rosie?
Yes, it is.
Right. And what has been the history of Tel Aviv gang and the Spanglers gang?
Cliff, gangs die and gangs grow.
Yes.
Both gangs in Tel Aviv right now, because of a power struggle to get out an individual who had controlled Tel Aviv and the resources in Tel Aviv. These two persons went together as friends and they said, well, we have to overthrow him because him alone and get everything and whatever. After when they did all that they wanted to do, then there comes the faction between both of them, and the friendship break off and the killing starts. And it's just killing and it's killing and it's spread and it's spread. Right now, we are having this splintered war from Tel Aviv inside the South, because they went into South and they build allies in South, and that's all. Everywhere them go and them build allies, you have inter-gang war feud in the communities. Listen.
And once again, Rosie, we have to give the context to people who are not familiar with the political geography. Tel Aviv was in the PNP side of Central Kingston.
Yes,
it is. Stop it now. No, hold on.
No. Allow me to finish.
1 second.
And South
Because
has been the dominant JLP part of the constituency.
Yes, it is.
Okay?
You know the thing.
So they moved into the JLP part. So it's not so much political alliances anymore.
Yes, and
has
they
not
moved
been
also
that.
in
It's
the
economic
Twilight
alliance.
community, which is another PMP stronghold, and that's how the war is spoiled. So, listen, we're not here to defend criminality. We're not here to defend murders. These are innocent people who are dying. And I must tell you, it's rare any of the gunmen is dying. All them do, them come up and them strike and them kill anybody them see and them gone. Me don't want to hear no argument about no foolishness. Me don't want to hypocrisy on the people in radio station. Me not come here for that.
You keep on using that term, hypocrisy.
What is this about?
Yes. What is it you're alluding to, Councillor Hamilton, when you say
I made it
hypocrisy?
absolutely clear. You know what is hypocrisy. Talk one thing and mean another. Smile and mean evil. Yeah, that is hypocrisy.
Oh.
Mr. Hughes, Mr. Hughes,
Are you
Mrs.
accusing
I
Cliff of that?
came on the show to talk about solutions, because this thing has been happening since last year, April, for particular reasons. It heightened for particular reasons, post-elections, and Rosie knows exactly what's going on. When she said in newspapers last year how she met with people and then hand them over to the police, when she reported in the Gleaner and the Observer, having met with people to get at truth, that to me was at the height, because you don't engage. If you know people are doing particular things and can stop them from doing certain things, carry them to the police. Now the eggs have come home to roost, as they always do, because politicians cannot control these types of elements. Cannot. I have always been a stand for peace.
You can't control
and
them.
respect.
No,
May I
no,
finish
no,
my
no,
point,
no,
please? May I
Councillor.
finish
Yes,
my
Councillor,
point,
please
please?
allow her.
Councillor, we allowed you.
Yes.
Please allow her. Go ahead,
Having
Mrs. Duncan.
reported in the media last year, Councillor Hamilton, that she had these meetings and didn't seek to engage the police because the police can't manage things and can't negotiate no truce. Those truces never last because gangs are in it for themselves for a particular reason. That's historical across many communities, not only in Jamaica, but also the world. So you have to be consistent in what you're asking for and consistent with the people so they can see you standing on the right side of the law at all points in time.
You're the hypocrite.
I came on the show.
Councillor
I came on the
Hamilton.
Councillor
show to
Hamilton.
discuss the
Councillor
solution.
Hamilton.
Oh,
Hold
one
on,
second,
Mrs.
Mrs.
Duncan
Duncan.
Price.
For no
Hold
answer
on,
One
Mrs.
second,
Duncan
because I've been
Price.
very
Hold on,
consistent.
Mrs. Duncan
One.
Price. Just a moment. Councillor Hamilton, please don't do that.
No, man, I'm talking to somebody outside here, and it's not you I'm talking to.
Oh, go
I
ahead,
have somebody
Mrs.
beside me that I'm talking to.
Go ahead,
Right.
Mrs.
But
Duncan
remember you're live on air.
on air. Go ahead, Mrs.
Okay.
Duncan Price.
Okay, sorry about that.
Go ahead, Imani Duncan
Came
Price.
on the show because there is a need for people, more people, to stand up for the residents across Central Kingston, across all of the communities, to get real help. The police are under pressure, under severe pressure, and they're under-resourced. There's also is not a perfect answer, and it's not a long-term answer at all. But we need to interrupt the cycle of violence, interrupt the wanton spiral of murders, where it is just women and children, no regard at all. Not saying before it was right when they killed off each other, but it's even worse now. And the palpable fear throughout the constituency is horrific. It's a tactic of war to suppress people and have them leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I came on the show to make a plea to any Jamaican who cares about Jamaica as a whole to call the Prime Minister, to speak to Minister Chang. Today I delivered a letter to the Prime Minister. I sent it as well to Horace Chang, asking for resources for the police to be able to have more boots on the ground. The community members say when the police are not under patrol, when they drive off, the drive-by come up behind them. They say when they're stationed on the corners, they feel safer. We're not saying it is a forever solution, but at least show the young man them that them don't run the streets.
So,
That law and order can prevail. And while you're at it, Cliff, as you know, invest in these communities because the root issues are deep.
Faith,
Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
you know you could do a better job by coming in the area, come interview the people.
Yes, I've done several of those.
yes, we've done.
Yes, man. Now is the time that you must do it.
Okay.
I am inviting.
Let me ask both of you, since we have you here as political leaders in the area, what about a show of unity? Coming together, walking the communities, trying
Very much
to
open to that.
engage the community members and the warring factions. What about that? As opposed to
Certainly.
Who you want to show the unity?
all of the political leaders. You're a political leader in the area, aren't you? Mrs. Duncan-Pryce is a political leader in the area. The MP is a political leader in the area.
And Councillor Charmaine as well.
I want to make,
all of us.
Are
I want to make. I want to make.
Are you in agreement with that? Hold on, before you make that point. Mrs. Duncan-Pryce says she's in agreement with it. Are you in agreement with that show of unity?
Councillor Hamilton. That's the
I'm
right to you.
listening. What you said, Cliff?
Mr. Reed, repeat your question.
I'm asking you, ma'am, if you are in support of that show of unity among the political leaders, coming together, walking the community hand in hand, speaking with the residents, appealing for calm. Are you in support of something of that nature?
You want my honest opinion?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Nothing else.
I am not killing nobody or setting up anybody's life. I don't need to walk for no peace. That's my honest opinion.
But I am being made to understand, Councillor Hamilton, that what is happening here is that all traditional party political lines have disappeared. For example, my information is that the gangs in the community stretch across those traditional political lines. For example,
Indeed.
Genocide Gang is based in Tel Aviv, which is traditionally PNP, but they now have many affiliates in South Side, traditionally JLP. Yes? And I am told specifically genocide is based on in George's Lane, where has a lot of tentacles. Dark Side based on Maiden Lane, traditionally Tel Aviv, but Dark Side is much more a South Side gang now than a Tel Aviv gang. Two of the main three leaders of the Dark Side gang come from South Side. One is the son
You
is
are very knowledgeable.
one is the son of the notorious Chubby Dread, who we all know was a JLP enforcer. Yeah. One of the Dons is from Clovelly Road, which is in Southside. Is that so?
No, man,
Rosie?
that's not Southside.
That's
That's
not
in
so.
the
Trouble is
Almontown division.
Midtown.
Midtown.
That's in the Almontown division.
Good. And the other one is from Maiden Lane, which is in Tel Aviv. Right?
On the border.
So it seems to me
And
that
it's not questionable border.
so
clear.
Councillor Hamilton, you have more history here than Mrs. Duncan-Pryce.
Certainly.
In terms of what?
You have more history in terms of the political geography, yes, of the area and the alliances, yes?
Yes.
This is not all politics. It is a whole lot of more than politics, isn't it?
And did I say that in the beginning?
Yes,
I
you
said
did.
that in the beginning.
You did mention that. So why is it? So why is it I pick up this antipathy towards working with Imani Duncan-Pryce, Councillor Hamilton?
And Charmaine Daniels. Because she'd also
No,
be
no,
involved
no,
with
Duncan,
because-
Mrs. Duncan-Pryce.
Please,
Yes,
please,
yes,
you know
Councillor.
what I want to know?
Yes.
When I know this, I will be comfortable. There's a young man that was a PNP that I recruited to be a JLP that was active in the spoilers area. He was killed, and I want to know why he died.
When was he killed?
He was killed on Ash Wednesday.
Hmm.
I'm the one who make him dead.
Why do you think he was killed?
I don't know. I'm trying to find out.
Hmm.
Rosie, aren't we all trying to find out exactly why all these murders are happening?
What's that?
Why aren't we all trying to find out? Because one of the things that keeps happening, there are series of reprisals, there are series of sending a message, because right now it seems as if people are being killed just because of where they live, not even because they're part of or have been affiliated with a gang.
Mm-hmm.
Like last night, for example, the young man who works at KPH. I met this man about 3 weeks ago. I met my night. A decent fellow, as far as I was concerned. I was shocked to hear. But I understand. Wrong place. Come from a particular community. And so these things are happening. Not just one person I want to know, but I want to know about every single one who has lost their life. And we need the police and back to solutions once again. 1 second, sorry. Because the thing I would say is that
Hold on,
walking
Councillor. Go ahead, Mrs. Duncan-Pryce. Go ahead, Mrs. Duncan.
there has to be, I believe, multiple messages and actions on different levels. Even though it is not political warfare, showing the leadership across the constituency together without the whole hands, it's COVID time, right? But we can walk together and engage people across different communities around what we're trying to stand for. But make sure we walk with the churches too, so they're clear about standing in faith and with God.
You're more political,
right? That's not
Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Hamilton.
No, really?
Councillor Hamilton, let's keep it civil now. 1 second, please, Mrs. Duncan.
But why you
Second
keep?
point is that.
Let's keep it civil. Let's keep it civil,
But
please.
why do you keep on saying that, Councillor Hamilton?
I wasn't addressing you, Cliff. Sorry.
But that's the
No,
second time.
You were addressing or directing your comments towards Mrs.
No,
Price.
I'm speaking to a friend of mine that is beside me.
Oh, right.
All right, Kate, Michelle,
Yeah.
before this becomes too comical, because that's a serious matter we're dealing with. Understand? Very serious, and I'm being very straight. Apart from sending a good signal between MPs, Donovan Williams, myself walking, Rosie, Charmaine, any other leaders as relevant, but with particular groupings like with the police, with the churches, and with principals. Because the children themselves, when you come and talk to the kids about what's happening for them, It's horrific. They're traumatized. But apart from the walk as a symbol, you need actual action. And I come back to asking your listeners, it doesn't have to be the ZOSA, but for me, the ZOSA comes with investments in social development and employability and employment opportunities. We need both. Stop the spiral and invest in the people.
What is
That's
your
what I wanted to
relationship with the
share.
MP Donovan Williams, Mrs. Duncan-Pryce? Are the two of you talking?
Yes. I mean, in fact, he didn't agree with the ZOSA when I first called for it in January, when Almond Town occurred. He said because the hotspot was down in Raytown Division. So I understood his perspective. I had a view about the linkages across communities. He didn't share that view. I have not spoken to him this week. In fact, when I spoke to Minister Chang's assistant, we arranged to have a meeting to discuss what is happening and what we can do. One of the things I hope will come out of it is what you're suggesting. But more than that, I would like the police, who have the responsibility for law and order, public safety and security, to be resourced properly and be able to work with the JDF for a definitive period of time while you stop the spiral and the mayhem.
Before you, I know you want to come in, but let me ask you this, Council. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the difficulty you're having with this show of peace and unity. You offered an argument that you're not killing anybody. I mean, I don't. Imani Duncan-Pryce is killing anyone. I don't think she is, and she's willing to do it. Why aren't you?
Can I say something, Mr. Reed?
In response to my question, yes, and then you can expound from there.
What you said?
I'm asking you, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the difficulty you're having with walking through the community in this show of unity, which clearly is needed.
Listen, anybody will tell you that I walk every community and I show unity. The P that I represent is people, not JLP or PNP. I represent people. So I don't need to work with anybody to show unity and peace. I have displayed that consistently.
Rosie?
But how is that an argument against doing it?
What?
How is that an argument against doing it? Okay, you do it regularly. Why not do it now?
Listen, Rosalie Hamilton, never and will never organize or be a part of any war in the community. I have no reason to work with anybody.
That's a straw man.
Right. They mentioned
Councillor
about
Hamilton?
the peace. They mentioned about the peace that I kept last year. When I intervened in a war that was inside Tel Aviv, between Tel Aviv and Tel Aviv, I intervened because one of the young lads that died in there is somebody that I am acquainted with, his mother, his sister, everybody. And I felt all of them pain, and I said, I am going to intervene. And that's how the peace came about.
Your intervention had meetings with people from Southside and persons from Tel Aviv in your meeting, as I was told by people. So let's not pretend. Rosie, stop. Please, for a second. The painting of a picture.
Let her finish, Mrs. Duncan-Pryce. She was on the floor first. Let her finish, please.
The war was about two gangs in Tel Aviv. A young man and a young guy on Rum Lane died. And that causes me to go over by George's Lane and talk to them, and go over the other side, over Maiden Lane, and talk to them. And they said, all right, get everybody together and make a talk. And that's how we got everybody on talk. And nothing else. We never have no agenda.
Rosie, if you could walk with those men, with the MP and the mayor last
Hold on,
year,
just allow, hold it, Mrs. Price. Just allow her to finish, yes.
And after we met with the guys, then we decided that we are going to let them walk to show the community, yes, we are together. And that's what, listen, and me a fire gun. Me no know if you
do you know what happened, Rosie, when you
know
walk with those men?
So
you frighten people because they saw people who are law enforcement people. You, as a councillor, walk with men of questionable character across the community. Those things don't work. It sends a wrong signal, Councillor Hamilton. Wrong signal.
Wrong signal.
Listen, when I say to walk to with a church, it's for a reason why I say wrong signal to law-abiding citizens, Rosie. Not to me, Rosie.
Good signal to me.
Well, Rosie, boy, you said some things that are very interesting and disturbing to me, I must tell you. Talk with the people and ask them what they really felt about that walk with those people last year.
Hold on, Rosie.
I heard the...
May I finish my point now?
Hold on, Rosie. Hold on. Allow her.
I didn't finish, please. I didn't finish.
Oh, I thought you were. All right.
We should allow her. Go ahead.
I heard the caretaker spoke about the condition and the deprivation of the constituency. 40 years of neglect by the PNP that brought it to
No. By government.
You cannot blame...
Mrs. Duncan-Pryce.
You have to allow Mrs. Duncan-Pryce,
You
please.
cannot blame nobody else for the neglect in Central Kingston and the infrastructure, everything that deteriorates in here, more than the MPs who get the constituency development fund and get the privileges of taking care of the constituency and did not do it. 40 years of neglect. We don't have nothing to talk about. No,
Mrs. Duncan-Pryce.
For the first time to represent the constituency in decades. And I know when election finish, we have a break period before campaigning starts so that the MP could get the privilege of working. This MP has got no privilege. It's killing. Since the election, it started after 4 on election day, and it has consistently happening since that time. Listen, the days when political violence and political ego, I thought and victimization. You notice we work in all areas. We serve every area. We deal with everybody as one. I set that trend in here because me born and growing here. My love is inside here. I live at Rum Lane. I live at Foster Lane. I live at Fleet Street. I live at Gold Street. There's no boundary where I am concerned. It's people we deal with.
Which is the very reason you should lead the peace walk, Councillor Hamilton.
May I respond?
Councillor Hamilton, how you respond to that? It's the very reason why you should be at the forefront, at the vanguard of this peace walk. What do you say about that?
You want me to tell you something? At several peace talks and peace walks and a people dead. So anybody ever want to know why the people them will fire the gun? Not me.
Mrs. Duncan-Pryce.
Let me just say to your listeners, as I said on Chip's show, I think it was last year before last, that the People's National Party, and I was very clear, that the way in which the lack of development has happened in Central Kingston, to me, is appalling. But I would also say that MPs, as we know, are not in charge of redevelopment projects. I wish previous MPs had advocated loudly across every megaphone so everybody could hear and remember the fight for development in Central Kingston and other similar constituencies. But I will say to you that over the last 50-odd years since independence, because both governments have been in power equally now in Jamaica's history, that across constituencies in downtown Kingston, we have forgotten people. It is a shame, and it is time to draw a line in the sand. I can't draw an excuse for anybody in the past. I know my present and my future and what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for dignity of people when it comes to affordable housing and decent housing and employability and mindset to live the life they want to live independently. That has to happen in a context of stability and peace. I believe leaders send multiple messages to constituents, to residents. Even though I have a problem with what Councillor Rosie and the then candidate did last year in working with particular elements and the message that sent, I am aware where we are today. We need to send a message of unity at all levels. So I'm open because I want the people.
Miss Rosie, Miss Rosie,
We meet with them in the
Miss
open.
Rosie, we protected you.
Other
Please
people
allow
meet
her.
with them in
No, Miss
private.
Rosie. No, Miss Rosie.
We'll give you a chance to respond. Just
yes,
remember the point.
please.
Complete the point for us, please, Mrs. Duncan-Pryce.
I'm open because you have to, because things get mixed. Even though it is January and economics and so forth and turf and all of that, you want to show at every level of leadership we are aligned on building peace and building opportunities for people. So if it means we have to do that walk together, then let's do it, but with all the right elements. That's one. But two, I go back to the fact that we are not going to get no gun man. We have to empower the security forces to do that, create a space for something else to happen in the communities, right? And then work with the private sector and the government to invest in a consistent 10-year development plan for the area. But the stop and start, the care packages, those things don't last. They need real development, and they deserve a break. So that's what I came on the show to talk about. I really don't want an argument, except that's for the people and moving forward at this point in time.
Ms. Hamilton, you wanted to come in.
Councillor.
Please.
Yes.
My last word. When we are meeting with the elements that Mrs. Duncan-Pryce spoke about, we meet with them in the public. We have no private meeting with them. And that is my last word.
Rosie, that is not so, and you know that. And person will come and tell you differently. So please don't do that on radio. Don't. Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Reid? Beg you come down to the constituency, carry the message of the people. You don't have to be a doser, but we need some real help. Come and amplify their voices. I'm asking you. Thank you. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Yes.
Good night, Rosie.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, please.
Thank you
Good night.
both.
Good night. Well.
Oh, boy.
Tyrone, this one needs some out of sight, off air talking and cajoling. Yes?
Indeed.
Because some of the issues are deep seated. For example, the rot and the decline of not only central Kingston in terms of housing, roads, schools, public service generally, access to water, employment, those problems have just worsened in that southern belt. Yes? Virtually from Cremor to Rockfort. And it's an indictment on the political leadership of the country over the last 30, 40 years. Yeah? I grew up for the most part of my life in East Kingston. I know it. I see it. I lived it. And it pains my heart. Yeah? Because if you were to do a study, yes, in terms of how those areas have fared, they will mirror the economic rot and decline that has afflicted this country, economic, social, and political, over the last 40 years. You can just walk, drive parts of West Kingston, parts of Central Kingston, East Kingston, and you'll see it. Yeah? And the most distressing part of this conversation a while ago is the fact that, certainly from Councillor Hamilton's perspective, there is no stomach to reach across the political divide. Yeah? And that is not helpful.
Not at all. But
That is not helpful.
something needs to be done, and it needs to be done with some amount of dispatch, because the situation in Central Kingston as we speak isn't tenable. People are losing their lives. Some drastic intervention needs to take place. That is impatient of debate. And if Councillor Hamilton doesn't want to be a part of it in that regard, there needs to be some kind of intervention that must take place now to preserve lives.
And the
Because
police are struggling to cope, to manage. They are struggling. Yeah? It's going to take more than police presence. Yeah? And this is where Imani Duncan is onto something. The problems are deep-seated. Deep-seated. The social malaise, the economic malaise. People barely subsist. Yeah? And her party, the PNP, yeah, must shoulder a lot of the blame. They were in government for nearly 20 consecutive years. The deterioration accelerated under their watch. Let us speak truth. Yeah? You look at those areas that have been very loyal to the PNP, Central Kingston, East Kingston. Yeah? You look at them and see what has been the result, what has been the reward for those people.
Surely a peace walk is not the be-all and end-all of the solution that is required in Central Kingston. No one is suggesting that. I see some of our YouTubers saying a peace walk isn't really a lot and it won't accomplish much. But it is a part, I think, of what is needed. And it ought to happen, certainly after what you described as those conversations that need to take place off air, where people can really express their guts, and then you shake hands and you move towards the solution. Because it has to happen. People are losing their lives.
As a start, yes, they have to cool it down as a start. But that can only be a start, Tyrone. Yes?
Can only be a start.
The work has got to be accelerated. There's a need, yeah, for the impact of resources.
I hope it is really up on the agenda of the JCF operationally to take some kind of action, even before some longer term measures can be put in place. But something needs to be done in that particular area and right early, I would think, based on the reporting coming out of that area. Something needs to be done.
Yes.
And you know, we're appealing to the residents of the communities, and if any of the gangsters are hearing us as well. I mean, what you're carrying on with isn't benefiting the area at all. And it will not benefit the area in the long or the short term. Yes?
Yeah.
We are appealing to those gunmen to just desist. Have some kind of a heart.
And there's the other element of it, you know, some of those gunmen are supported by sponsors who now live abroad, especially in the United States,
The violence
and supply
producers,
them with the remittances.
the financiers of the crime. Yes.
Yes, to buy the weapons and if not send them home, and the bullets. Yes?
Man can't buy books and sponsor people to go university.
Right.
Eh? We're buying guns. Eh?
Yeah.
What, how do you think that is going to help?
Mm.
Look here, no?
Ah, boy.
We have to
Time.
take a break.
Yes.
More Nationwide at 5.